All right, so welcome back again, guys. So at the beginning of the show, I put out about 3 or 4 headlines, comments. If you guys wanted to touch any one of those, I know some of them might be a little touchy, but feel free to call. We got a call?
Yeah. Good evening. You speak your mind.
Oh, they hang up. All right, we missed you. Sorry for
please
for
call back.
Just call right back. So
call
again,
right back. We're right here.
I put some things out there, so feel free to call in. We asked about pari-mutuel betting. Of course, you guys are touching that one. I still want to know directly, how do you feel? Should we have betting or not? Are we that such a Christian society that betting is completely off the table? We have such a diverse group of people now living in the BVI. Not everybody believe in the same God or believe in God, period. How do we continue to tell them that, you know, what they like, we don't like, and we're not going to allow it? So, you want to speak your mind? Go ahead, please. Hello.
Good evening.
Yeah.
Go right ahead.
I need to stop this thing about Christian community. We ain't a Christian community.
Okay, that's the question.
Because whatever happened in the big city happened in the BVI.
I agree.
It's time and quite time for people to stop this foolishness for Christian community. God, He make no country, no Christian community. It's a people. Okay? When he destroy Noah, when he tell Noah to build an ark, there's several thousand people, and only 8 righteous he could have found. 8.
Okay.
Okay? So it ain't no Christian community.
Okay.
We got theft, we got murder, we got prostitution, we got everything in the big city in the BVI.
We have
unsolved community.
We have unsolved murder. That's what we have. A lot of unsolved murder.
Since 2003, they find a body up a spot in a shallow grave.
Yes.
Up down to the state, they ain't find nobody, they ain't arrest nobody.
Yep.
In a shallow grave right in the BVI.
Yep.
Killed and buried in a shallow grave.
Yep.
Okay? They got close to the murder.
Not to mention
nobody can't tell you, well, okay, who is it? Who do that?
Not to mention
so we
all
Christian community.
Not
so I stop that foolishness, okay?
Not to mention all the families who don't get no kind of answer from all the different unsolved murders that we have.
Yeah, the reason the committee in Secaucus is to have pari-mutuel, the government going to get money from it. They're going to benefit from it. The money was going out to the country every week to Puerto Rico lottery. The government ain't get not for that because it's illegal. So the government ain't get a tax from that. That money going out of the country. When you got pari-mutuel on the racetrack, the government will get money from it. We going to get money circulating here, not going out. Okay? So they need to set the priorities straight and do the right thing.
Yeah, but Carla, it sounds like you're saying we're in denial.
Yeah, because every time they talk about Christian community, you got gambling going on here. What happened to the cockfight on Josiah's Bay? Man betting $3,000-$4,000 on a cock. That's gambling. You got strip club. You got whole house of everything like a big country. We see bank rob holiday before I get injured. I've been walking and set up the bank. Just like in a big city. Years ago to chase bank. So we in a Christian community, we ain't better than nobody else. Them foolishness gotta stop.
So you're basically saying we're in denial.
Yeah.
And we need to wake up.
We need to wake up, man. That 60 years ago when everybody afraid of police. Now they're shooting police now. They ain't respect nobody. You turn off your house when you come and meet a break. Your laptop gone, your set gone, all kind of thing out your house because I was selling.
So we got Christian thief. We got Christian thief in the community then.
Yeah, what kind of Christian community they're talking about?
Yeah.
And besides that, in them churches, got a most hypocrites.
Carla, let's shift gears for 1 minute. I want to ask your opinion on something.
Yeah.
Give me your assessment on the global water situation we hear now seen in the news. 22 point something million dollars. Give me your take on that.
Everybody take it on my million on that one.
Huh?
everybody, let me take it on maybe in a minute.
Yeah.
Everybody was on Fraser and we were in a party and talking about buy water. Now, they can't come out the back now. Global Water suing them now for this $20-something million. Who gonna pay that? You see? Well, at the price I see, all of them are taking a set of crooks and you put back in a set of crooks. You put all of them in a barrel like a fire, turn it down the hill. Who come out? Because none better than none. My mother used to have that word to say, the pot find the fault of the kettle and I'm on the same stove. You understand? So that's why I see.
Yeah. All right. Thanks a lot, Carla. Always on point. Always on point.
Yeah, we have a text here. Let's see if we could get to that before we get the next call.
Yeah, link that one. I do have a few more texts that came in earlier too.
Okay. This is a real problem for the sister islands. Nobody is thinking about these islands. Everything, Rotown, East End. Please, somebody.
Yeah, I guess basically you're saying look at the other islands. That goes to the other text we had earlier, Courtney.
Yeah.
Somebody said that what's happened to Antigua and Virgin Gorda, they should be looking at those as well.
That is a load of trash. It is a Christian community that is insulting to the various nominations in the BVI, not because there's crime means that it isn't a Christian community. That caller is wrong and should stop this garbage. It is respect, maybe not. It is not perfect, maybe not. But it surely isn't a Hindu or Muslim one as much as it is Christian.
That's a strong opinion for Christianity.
That's very strong for Christianity.
Yeah, they believe that, contrary to what the caller is saying, that we are a Christian community.
Yeah.
Well, there is a lot of people that go to church, Courtney.
Yeah.
Here in the BVI, and we do have a lot of different churches.
Yep.
But again, in a free society, I guess that's what people are asking now. Is a free society is one mindset, one thinking, going to continue to dominate. And despite the fact that we are a Christian society, quote unquote Christian society, there are a lot of people that do contrary to being a Christian.
Yeah.
So,
but I would even go even a little bit further, because the person is saying we're not a Muslim community, but in Muslim law, they deal with murder and stealing a totally different way from how Christian people deal with it in the first place.
That's true. Well, like it says, if you're a Christian, live like one. Live to whatever you believe in. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's how I look at it, Courtney.
Yeah.
So, Courtney, anyway, so on the horizon, of course, we got the global water situation now in the paper. I'm asking the people how they feel about that. I mean, what's really going on? We're talking about, not having any money. And if these guys were to source, can we afford to pay a debt such as $22.5 million? The hospital still ain't finished and so forth. And now we found out that the government still owe Social Security $40-something million. You know what I mean? For money borrowed. But in the House, it came out that there's $428 million in Social Security. And the Minister, Alvin Christopher, raised the comment that, we're borrowing money, we're lending our money from Social Security to people across the world anyway. So why we can't borrow our own money to do our own development? And a lot of people in the street are also asking that question. Why are we fighting, killing ourselves, saying that we can't do this, we can't do that? We're going to England and telling them that we want investors to come in and do this and do that, and we're sitting on our own investment fund, which we use to lend to other people to do their investment. So I guess that's also on the horizon. I want to know how people feel feel about that? Money in Social Security, we're sitting on it. What would be the holdup? Why can't we borrow our own money to do our own development? It's money that's going to be trickled back into the system because we're paying it back regardless. You have no other choice but to pay it back. I know there's different point of views on that. So let's hear the different point of views. Are you in favor of borrowing your own money, responsibly paying it back, and gaining interest off on top of that as well? Or are you all about, going outside and looking at other people's investment and continue to give away the country if you can help it? You should probably do for yourself. So tell us how you feel about that. Go ahead, Courtney. Let you
Well, I think all of that ties into a financial protocol that we're going to have to abide with from henceforth. We're going to have to be more accountable. We're going to have to bid projects. We're going the whole 9 yards now. We're not going to be able to have non-sustainable projects. We're going to have sustainable projects. So I think that you're going to see a change. Good evening, you're speaking mind. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, Sam. Yeah, that's what you're just talking about there. Remember, Paul, what we had there on height to take the Social Security money and build some low-income housing for poorer class of people. And the bank have a rope on your neck for 20 years. He was talking about that. He had that on foot. But since he died, nobody ain't bring it forth. He had that planned. He said, because it's the Social Security money, it's your own money. You could build some low-income housing for people who can't afford to build a big mansion house.
But Carl, I'm so glad you bring up that topic, because I just picked up a standpoint over the weekend and I saw a number of local people houses in the standpoint for going up for auction, for sale. And it's so sad to see that, although we know we're in a bad financial time, it's so sad to see that at this time. It shows that we're not out of the financial crisis, and it also shows that what you're talking about, the low-income housing, is still a viable option for people right now.
Yeah, because part of what he had that. He decided to build a nice two-bedroom house out of your same money that you're paying, and you're going to pay it back lower than the bank got a roof on your neck for how much years. But since he died, nobody bring it forth and nobody seemed to think about it. He was borrowing the same Social Security money and build these houses and to sell people.
Yeah, well, that same comment that you're making also was made by I think it was Honorable Fraser. He mentioned the same thing about being able to borrow at least $10 million from Social Security, build a few homes, like you said, $200,000 or even less, for folks who qualify in different areas, because ownership of homes and so forth is important. If you don't own the land, you don't own your own place, in your country, you're dead. And I mean, the government talked, I know it's still early, but we talked about, a land bank. It was part of the campaign rhetoric. Now it's also part of, I heard it mentioned in the House. I believe that the people who are talking about it is serious, but something needs to be done as soon as possible. I mean, a land bank, yes, I'm all for it, because our land on our homes shouldn't be up for auction on the World Wide Web for anybody from outside of BVI, because one by one, that's how we're losing this piece of land that we have here. If you own it, you can't be forced to sell it. And if you own it, people respect that. But if you don't own it, then they can knock you about and treat you any kind of how. So it's something that really needs to be looked at. But, the bottom line is we have our own money. It's the people money. You borrow it, you pay it back. You pay back with interest. The people makes money. They earn from it. You know what I mean? They gain from it. Not earn, but gain from it. And it's the same thing we are doing. The same article they talked about, all money, Social Security money, is out there in the world. Some of the money's being sold or given away or borrowed by other institutions across the world. So if other people are allowed to borrow our money, or we're using the money to invest in other options, why can't we use the same money and invest in our own people? It's as simple as that. I don't see anything hard in that, and I don't see why that can't be done. Again, under the same financial protocol, if we follow it to the T, Why can't we go and fight, Courtney? Why can't we put plans together? Go to England and say, boss, I need $20 million. We got the money there. We got people guaranteeing customers in the country the same guaranteeing and gain to a third party. They should be giving it to us. We should be the third party. We got our own money. Put the money in an escrow account. Borrow against the money. You got guarantee over there to pay back the money. Why can't these things be examined? Why are we only talking about somebody else from outside doing it? And then if we could borrow $10 million to go build roads, we could borrow $30 million to build something that's going to give real return. So, I mean, it's simple as that.
What the caller said was very positive, because, you know, in home ownership you have appreciation, you don't have depreciation. And appreciation, I'm saying the value keeps on increasing. So it's a win-win situation for the Social Security Board. It's a win-win situation for the homeowners, and it's a win-win situation for the government of the day.
Yeah. Courtney, got two texts just coming. One was asking a question about who's Global Waters. Global Water, I guess, was a company back between 2003 and 2007 that signed a water agreement. But for some reason they never got on the way. And then nothing was done with them in between 2007 and 2011. And now they're in the paper front and center talking about suing the country for 2 contracts according to them. And you know, the last premier said that he wasn't aware. He wasn't aware of any contract or any situation with them. So we just have to wait to see what happened in the courts. But as right now, you know, it was another company that supposedly were going to produce water in Paraquita Bay for the people of BVI. I don't know if anyone would say no, and if so, but
Sam, that begs the question about you know, to me, I might be a little outside of my league, but to me it begs the question that I heard some people speaking about right here on the show, and it speaks about water security. We're talking about food security, but what about water security? If we're going to have a situation where we have no control over our ability to manage, produce, you know, purchase our water, we definitely would be putting ourselves or the country at a very serious dilemma. You know, because we are past the state now of not being able to be energy efficient, water efficient. You know, it's almost like as if it's impossible to get back to where we should be. We should have a certain amount of water in reserve in case something should happen and we can't produce water for a period of time.
I agree.
That is not the situation. We're barely able to deliver the amount of water that the citizens are asking for on a daily basis. And I'm not just talking about Antatola. We're talking about Virgin Gorda, Anegada, Josh Van Dyke, all the places. We have gotten to a situation where the demand for water is more than the production. And if we're looking at the way we're outsourcing the production of water, we're going to eventually be in a deficit situation.
Courtney, we got one text. This person was answering the fees question. They said the fees hasn't been risen in 30 years in the BVI for immigration. So if you had that question, somebody just answered for you. Fees are still the same. I think it's like $25, $35, $45, nothing to complain about. So it's really, really cheap to live in the BVI still. No, just kidding. In some places it is. When fees that low and government still have to operate. Cars in front of travel plan. They said government needs to remove those cars in front of travel plan. Travel plan is down there by the hospital. Courtney, we got a call.
Yeah, go right ahead.
You want to speak your mind? Go ahead, please. Hello.
Yeah, good night, Sam and Courtney. What's up?
Yeah, talk
good night.
to us.
How are you doing?
Listen, I'm sitting here listening to you guys, and it seems very, very serious, like a really serious matter. Hold on. Hello?
Yeah.
Yes, hello.
It sounds like a really serious matter when you think of past government could not honor because they didn't know about, what is it, a $22 million contract?
No,
Two
no,
of them.
No, it wasn't that amount of money. I think it was like about 2 million.
Okay, with Global Water?
Yes.
Whatever million it was. I'm just making the point. How could this pass a government? When one government sign a contract, isn't it somewhere there in some sector of government so you can you must know it's there? I mean, help me out, because some of these things I don't know how they work. But how could something like this happen, Courtney?
Usually with a contract of that size, it would have probably had to be vetted by the Attorney General's office, and copies of it should have gone to a number of people: the auditor, the permanent secretary in the ministry that's related to it, the finance, the Ministry of Finance, the Treasury would have to have a copy, and in some instances, although it's not followed all the time, but sometimes it's registered, so you would have a registered copy in the registry as well. So it shouldn't be a secret, if that's what you're suggesting. It shouldn't be a secret.
So how is it possible then that a past government could not have known about the contract being signed by one government? How is that possible?
Well, I don't know, because I would be just making a suggestion, right? But it's very possible that one government would decide not to do something that the previous government was doing, and that happens. I know that happens in our countries. As a matter of fact, I could show you a bridge that was started in another Caribbean country that's still there halfway in the air, and is not completed because the government that came after decided they're not building a bridge.
But at the same time, it's costing taxpayers money.
Exactly. You're right on target now. It's costing us. Say us, man. It's costing us, the taxpayers.
Yeah, but and also the government knew about it. Carl, I hear what you're saying. It's a question that I believe in the end, when all the documents come out, because documents going to come out, I'm sure there had to have been some correspondence, there had to have been some letter passing back and forth, there were some meetings held, so I personally, I don't care which government it was. It's impossible to tell me for 4 years you have whether it's 1 million or 2 million or 4 million or $5 million, something as huge as that. This is something that's huge, and I remember in the same House of Assembly there was conversation or mention about the same Global Water contract that was out there.
Honorable Andrew Ford, he mentioned it. He mentioned it more than one time.
Nobody could sit and tell me that for 4 years, whether you're the leader, you're the minister responsible for the subject, that you wasn't aware. If you wasn't aware, you've been asleep.
And at the end of the day now, we end up now signing a bigger contract with another company.
And that in itself would have raised red flag to the contract that was already in front of you.
And that company is going to get paid whether they produce water or they don't produce water.
You begin to understand how financially country does fall.
Yeah.
This financially is messing us up. Every time you look around, we owe somebody some millions of dollars. But a man who's ready to be broke.
And Carla, what I just said, we have to. It should. You should come to grip with what I just said as well. We're not nowhere near water security. Water security, in my opinion, means that you, as a country, have some grip on your water supply and some grip on
reserve.
The reserve, the amount of reserve that you need to have in case of whatever problem might arise, and to have a secure arrangement to have water in the country. We're talking about food security. What about water security?
Yep. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, man. Thanks for the call. Oh, Courtney, I'm asking you to take a break again.
Asking us to take a break. We're going to take a break for sponsors and make the show possible. We're going to be right back.
Yo, you ain't checking for me no more, man. What going on?
Girl, you're right, man. Things rough right now and ain't getting no better. I gotta cut back how things so expensive.
Wait, you ain't hear Digicel giving away some serious credit? With Digicel, when you top up by $15, you will get $100 free credit. I mean, that's 100 anytime Digicel minutes, free chat all weekend long to your Digicel friends, and unlimited text to any network.
Wow! Now with Digicel, I can save and we can party some more.
Party Rock is in the house tonight.
Your credit lasts longer with Digicel. Now that's something worth partying about.
All right, so welcome back. Real quick, we got 2 more texts that just came through. Somebody's complaining about Mosquito Island. I don't know how true this is, but I'm saying, just imagine working at Mosquito Island all this time and they ain't getting paid. I can't imagine you working for a billionaire, and you can't get your money. Who is the Minister of Labor? Call him out. Who is the person responsible for the Labor Department? Call him or her out. That's what you need to do. People, I need to start going in front of these things. I keep saying one of my biggest heroes in this country, that gentleman right by the bridge, Franklin. I never forget the day I saw Franklin in front of the government complex with a big bright suit on and a sign, because the Privy Council gave this man judgment and the local government failed to enforce the judgment, and that was a shame. And the man did what you're supposed to do. Go protest. Get in front of these government departments and embarrass them in front of the wall. The news gonna come out, it's gonna be televised, it's gonna be on newspaper. If we talking about transparency, we keep talking about gaining independence, these are things that we have to mature to in order for us to move forward and have a discussion about independence and so forth. So we gotta start testing the system. We gotta make sure that when we back our politician about gaining independence, we know that our politician got our back as well. So if you working for billionaires in this country, and he's a good man, I'm not knocking him, he's a good man. I know the man, I met him several times, but at the same time, if he's doing you wrong, and the government or the system should stand up for you. Social Security should be paid at 60, this person said, Courtney. This was another text. So how you feel about that, Social? You are over 60 already, right?
No, man.
It's Courtney, you old enough. You old, Courtney.
Yeah, but what I was telling you is that I think, well, we're going to come back to that after
come
this
back
call.
to it. I want to hear your answer now.
Yeah. Good evening, you're speaking mind. Go ahead, please.
Good evening.
Yeah, good evening.
I've been listening to your program
Very
ever
good.
since it started. But the way I'm calling is because somebody mentioned about a housing scheme with Paul Watley and what have you.
Right.
Well, I was one mentioned that housing project to the government before Paul Watley, because it was the real government at the time.
Well,
Okay.
who are you? Because we don't know. Let the people them know who you are.
I'll tell you. When I went to Liberty Stout, Social Security was number 1, housing scheme was number 2, and a lottery scheme was number 3.
Lottery scheme. Lottery.
Yes. And Liberty accepted the Social Security immediately. And his comment was with the housing project, he wouldn't want to go in that because people here was building houses to rent and they would fuss about that. I mentioned him about St. Thomas, was doing it and what. Anyhow, he didn't take me on with neither the housing scheme, nor the ticket, lottery ticket.
Okay.
And after that, now, when the VIP government got in, I went to the chief minister and the deputy chief minister, and I mentioned the same thing for the housing project, and none of them did anything to it. Now what I want to say to you, that Social Security, over the years, the money that they have, I was the one who helped them to collect that money, but they couldn't get it collect.
Okay.
And I told them how to get it collect. Because the labor was one department the immigration was another department. And when I used to go in to pay the taxes for Social Security, one of the ladies from Western City, contractors collecting people money, won't pay them. I tell her it was not me, I'm here to pay mine.
Right.
And she asked her, what's your problem? She said, well, the other contractors, you're going to put them in court. She said, no, they have no law for them. I said, you want me to give you a remedy how to collect the money? She said, yes. I said, okay, since you were rude to me, I'll wait till I come back next month and I'll give you a remedy. And when I went back next month, she said, you brought the remedy? I said, yes. I said, go to the headquarters who are responsible and let them put labor and immigration in one body. All those who want workers, when they apply to labor, let labor find out from them, have you paid your Social Security? If they say yes, tell them present their receipt. And if they say no, tell them go and pay their bills and then come in there get permission to bring the workers in. I was an employer at that time myself. I'm Barry Smith from East End speaking to you.
Yes, sir.
And this is how they were able to collect that money where they collected now, because they had to do my recommendations to her.
Very good.
Oh, just so I know it was you, know.
I'm the one who put the Social Security to Lavatim. I took one on bathroom and deceased can travel with me.
Okay.
And when I had already given it to Vidal Weekly for 2 years and a half, and he turned it down after I couldn't bear him no more. I went to Lavity with it. With all the promotion and the praise and what, he never know one thing about Social Security. I used to put it to him, but it doesn't matter to me. I just mentioned to you what took place.
Okay.
Yeah, but give credit where credit is due. We appreciate that.
Okay. Good night. Enjoy the rest of the show.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Keep watching. You know what that is?
Yeah.
I grew up on the Beresford.
Okay.
As a little boy, he had a little pool hall, gamble hall, and an aquarium.
Okay.
You want to speak your mind? Go ahead, please. Turn on your radio, please.
Go right ahead.
Or TV.
Good night, gentlemen. How are you doing?
Good, you know.
We're doing fine. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm listening to you guys. I just want to clarify a little thing there. All your Sam, I understand the contractor them getting paid by the workers. So
The contracts and what?
they're getting paid, but they're not paying the workers.
Ah.
Well, that's exactly what the previous caller was saying, and he's saying there's a way around that, and that is by when they go to bring the workers in, etc. If the relevant departments, the trade department, the immigration, and the labor department would ask them if they pay their Social Security, they could say the same way they could ask them if they pay the workers. You know, and they could show proof that they pay their workers. But
that really sad to see people working for weeks.
Exactly, it is sad.
Carlos, when you say the contractors are getting paid, you're talking about such as Mosquito Island, contractors are getting paid but not paying their workers?
That's what I'm talking.
Okay, that's what I thought. Well, then it also goes to what we were saying. We have a labor minister and we have a labor department. That's why we have them in this country, to take care of those labor issues. If somebody's stealing, that's theft by deception. If you got people working for you and they're not being paid, and they are being paid, the contractor's being paid, but he's not paying his worker, labor department's supposed to have some kind of authority in saying that, and they should step up proactively and take care of workers.
And it's so easy to be done because those same people have to go and get work permit for people, and they have to go and pay their taxes and all that stuff, and you just ask them to produce the information. If they can't produce the information, you know that they're not doing it. Yeah.
We have a situation happening in our country. I really can't say something about the ministers and discard the situation, but I want to get real into it. From all labor force, in the sense of local workers working in these trust companies and from construction, people don't get to a point where they can't take out too much because in an economical situation, people are ready to use any terms to fire you. So people are under a lot of tension of things. We're not really standing up together in these different areas. So it's a real situation we're facing right now. And these companies are taking advantage of some of the workers in a situation where they can't speak up. And the situation happening within the job. You know, I know a lady that didn't lose her job for standing up and she got a mortgage for paying. You know, it's really sad. You know, so, but one of the things I want to say with the politicians, the government that they know is serenity. They have ideas they want to see the power. But I would like to see the opposition. It's time to, you know, get the government the power. It's time to question what the government the power. At time they need to bring some ideas to the House. You outshoot the government. Bring better ideas. If any of your ideas is good and they aim their power, bring it to the public. But to me, all they do is criticize and he's trying to find problem like he's doing. We face some situation ahead of us. We need the best man. We need the best ideas of power. That's what we need. We don't disagree. But real ideas to move this country forward. Stop trying to find it to bring down. We need to find a situation that we need ideas more power. Because we see how the world is changing so fast. Financial service is changing. Tourism is changing. The way people spend money is changing. Now we need to find mechanisms where how we can adjust and educate our people understanding it's no longer how to do business like before. This is what we're supposed to be debating on. This is what we're supposed to be preparing our people for. But a lot of the information goes right to the government. Sometimes it sits right there and the people don't understand that. When you look, the bank don't change something new. You don't know what's happening. They tell you people doing. They get caught up and they know what's going on. We need to be educated. Let me debate things. That's my input.
Well, let me ask you something. What do you think about what I said a bit earlier? I said that now with a new protocol we have in place, all these projects are going to have to come to the people for the people to endorse the projects. You think that's one way that we will?
My brother, that's a very good idea. The people get a voice on what's happening. That's what you call your people being involved.
No, that's what we call democracy.
Well, okay, if you want to say it that way, that's what it's supposed to be. Your people, anything that happens in your country, your people must have a voice. Because at the end of the day, they're going to be affected. So, you know, I did some research on a project that happened in the Caribbean Islands, and I just did some research and realizing that that one's a little more politics, so I'll leave that one. So.
Okay.
Well, Carla, thanks a lot. I'm glad you called, but you always wait till the last minute. We have 5 minutes left to wrap up the show. And of course, good. Well, of course, I'll let you hang up and I'll put my little spin on what you just said. You know, so thanks a lot for the call. All I could say is that, you know, one of the things I really have a hard time with Courtney, and I think most people have a hard time with her in the BVI, is that the system of government that we practice is the Westminster system. To me, it's a very complex system. It doesn't really open for more transparency. It doesn't allow the opposition to sponsor bills and bring forward good ideas, because if you're in the opposition, those who are running the show pretty much throw that in the garbage, and only the ideas come from the cabinet.
Right.
So it's a challenge.
I take it, Carl. Yeah, good evening. You're speaking, man.
We got 3 minutes left, Carla, so you have to make it quick.
Yeah, okay. The Labour Minister seems to be he doing the job, but he on the other side, he had a plaster for every store. Now the Labour Department got a whole set of work coming in the pile up, and they're still letting people come in. Just trying to put a brakes on it. Because a lot of people left the private country already, and I have a lot of people who here say that they ain't paying for none, they gotta go in for Christmas. So the Labour got them in the pile up, and nobody go for them. But then why are you bringing in people for? We are a big family in the PBI. We are already outnumbered 60 to 40 in your own country. Check that out to see that a problem. I don't mean I don't think I got to say. Go ahead.
We could say that by default, because we still can't get a 2010 census. We still can't.
According to them, they say we have 26,000 people in the last census, and people.
26,000?
Yeah, but I said we outnumbered by 60 to 40.
Yeah, but
So just now you only got a country named Tatola BVI. You're not going to in it.
Well, Carl, all I could say is that I remember last week, I thought it was one of the lowest and weakest point in the Premier's thing. You know, the Premier was asked, and I'm going to say this very clearly, the Premier was asked what was the unemployment rate in the BVI. Forget the census. You don't need census. The Labor Department, between the Labor Department and Immigration, should have been able to give him the adequate answer. He said he doesn't know what the unemployment rate is in the country because so many of the work permit holders are foreigners, and he's not sure if they're in the country or out of the country. If I'm misquoting that, please correct me. No, you don't need a census to tell you what your unemployment rate is. You know what I mean? People on work permit, you should be able to tell who they are, whether they're here in the country or not, without the Census Bureau or DPU telling you that. So something is wrong in the country when you can't get those answers.
Yeah, the Labor Commission ain't doing it at all.
Well, you say so, I didn't say so. I didn't say so. But appreciate the call, though. We do have to wrap up.
Yeah.
Well, Courtney, I'm going to wrap up before you because I know you're going to be long. I can just say, I just want to thank the callers. I realize that we have a lot of people watching, and again, we get more texts than calls, so we appreciate the text as well, folks. Thank you so much for tuning in. As usual, Speak Your Mind again allows you to do what you have to do, say what you have to say. Let the government know how you feel. This is a democracy, and we got to start exercising our democratic rights. You can't be afraid anymore to tell me if you think what I'm doing is wrong or what I'm saying is wrong, and then if you can afford to tell me, then tell the next guy as well. Let's correct ourselves, let's correct each other, and that way we can move this country forward. A lot of us out there talking about independence. Folks, this is the road to independence. If you want independence, we gotta start practicing what we're doing right now. We gotta start being able to question one another, question our politician, get answers, demand answers. When they come with bright ideas, they come to us and tell us they could do things. How come when they end, they ain't gonna bring those things to us? They need to bring it to us. We should decide whether or not it's good. And majority rule, that's how I look at it. So Courtney, I'll leave the rest to you.
Okay, Sam, we had a pretty good show. We had some interesting dialogue tonight. We talked about traffic. We talked about being courteous. I mentioned that the road was blocked a couple of places and I didn't see any signs and stuff like that. We touched a little bit on banking and some of the problems that some of the solutions to some of the things that we see in banking. Definitely some more ATM machines. We have about 5 ATM machines. We got a text that came in talking about there should be more interest in the issues in Anegada and Virgin Gorda and Joshua Dyke. That definitely goes without saying. We have to pay more attention to these sister islands. We talked a bit about the pari-mutuel betting and the advantages of looking at that. Definitely one of them being money staying in the territory rather than shipping money out of the country every week. We talked about global water. We talked about low-income housing, which is something that I would like to continue to talk about, Sam. Maybe next week we could shed some more light on low-income housing. Low-income housing doesn't necessarily mean housing for a particular type of people. I think in our country here now, low-income housing could fall into a number of different categories.
For me as well.
Yeah, so we could look at some of that. We talk about water security and whether or not we should be moving towards trying to find some ground where we could have some type of water security in our country, whether it's a storage supply or the way we buy water, whatever, something. But I think what we're doing right now, we're not seeing any light at the end of the tunnel as far as water security is concerned. We talk about food security, and we need to work on that as well. Sam, all in all, we had a very good show. We had some good interaction. We had a lot of texts. We had a lot of calls. And, of course, this show is a people's show, and one of the reasons why it's such a good show is because the people are the ones who run the show. They're able to express themselves and talk about the issues that are affecting them in this little community. So all in all, we had a very good show, Sam. And on that note, I would like to say God bless these Virgin Islands and the people that live in it, and we'll see you again next week.